Well, hello. Cheers. And we are clearly going super casual, very low budget today because I did not realize that the Goodreads Choice Awards were being announced yesterday. And I was kind of focused on the Booker, which just don't even get me started on the Booker. It was so bad this year. And then went into YouTube and saw a bunch of people were doing their Goodreads response or reaction videos, and I thought, oh my goodness, I totally lost track of the fact that those were happening. So I'm going to do a really quick reaction here because I'm just curious. Last year was the first year I had really paid any attention to it, just in terms of knowing who the nominees were, but I didn't do a TBR or anything, and I'm not sure if I have plans to do anything this year. I don't have a lot of faith in awards right now, in bookish awards. I have really struggled with a lot of them this year. I've found some great books, but overall have found them to be very lackluster. And I'll be honest, I'm not putting a ton of faith in the Goodreads to change that for me. But I am really curious to see what's going on. So I've got my phone out. I have got my tea. Let me know. It's black tea. I actually put milk and sugar in it. How very indulgent of me. But if you are a tea drinker, how do you drink your tea? I've never been able to drink tea black, like black tea, black. So it's just one of those things, but I am having a lovely morning and I do work this afternoon. We will get this thing moving. First category, we have fiction. All right, here we go. Interesting, Playground by Richard Powers. Interesting that he made it. That seems very, very lit fic for the Goodreads, but okay, sure enough. Swan Song by Ellen Hilderbrand, a very prolific author. I've never read anything from her before. Wandering Stars by Tommy Orange. I tried reading this for the Booker. I didn't get very far into it. Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. I read this and was surprised with how much I loved this book so much. If you haven't picked it up yet, I found it to be a very easy read, very page turnable, and had a really great time with it. The Mighty Red by Louise Erdrich. I would consider reading this. I did enjoy her book, The Sentence, but I haven't read a lot of her stuff, even though I know she's written a lot. Tell Me Everything by Elizabeth Strout. Not a book that I have read, nor a book that's really very high up on my TBR. Margot's Got Money Troubles by Rufi Thorpe. I haven't heard of this one. That's kind of cool. Colored Television by Danzy Senna. Haven't heard of this one either. Greta and Valden by Rebecca R. Riley. This one I feel like has been out for a while. I'm surprised it was eligible. I just thought it had been out longer. I don't know what the eligibility dates are for this award. It's a book that I have heard about and I think have had mixed ratings. It's not one that's really been on my radar to pick up myself, but not one that I would be opposed to, but it's certainly not one that I'm rushing out and putting myself on the hold list or anything for at the library. Real Americans by Rachel Kong. I think I tried reading this one and didn't love it. So another one that has definitely made the rounds, but I don't know much about it. The Wedding People by Alison Espak. So here's the thing. There was a lot of buzz about this book, I feel like, but I have heard literally nobody talk about it, which doesn't give me a lot of hope. Like when the pre-release has a ton of buzz and then post-release there's crickets, it doesn't give me a ton of hope to want to go rush into it. Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. Obviously, honestly, if that one doesn't win, I'll be shocked. I have a whole vlog on that. I did enjoy it. Same as It Ever Was by Claire Lombardo. I've never heard of that one. Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors. Coco Miller seems to be making a splash this year because this one and what else did she do? Cleopatra or something like that? Is that her other book that she did? Really popular. She's an author that I would like to get to at some point because I've heard great things, but again, not something that is on my immediate TBR. I Hope This Finds You Well by Natalie Sue. Sandwich by Catherine Newman. I have heard of this book and seen it. I'll be honest, the cover is not very inspiring. It's not a cover that makes me want to go out and grab it. Good Material by Dolly Alderton, another book that has definitely made the rounds. All Fours by Miranda July is in fact a book that was on my TBR. I got it from the library and then was not able to pick it up in time, so I sent it back. But it is one that I definitely want to pick up. Welcome to the Hyeonim Dung Bookshop by Hwang Bo Rion. And this is one that again was on my TBR and I took it off because I just had too much stuff going on, but I would like to get to it at some point. And then Here One Moment by Leanne Moriarty, another very prolific author. I haven't read this one. I haven't read a ton by this author, but would be willing to give her a shot. So definitely some very well-known books, which I suppose is what you would expect from the Goodreads Awards. I would say Martyr for me is definitely the highlight, as it is Martyr and Intermezzo are the only two books on this list that I've read. I think this is probably going to be a pretty common theme. Last year when I looked at the Goodreads Choice Awards, I hadn't read very many of those books, and I think that might be the same for this year as well. Okay, historical fiction. Do they change their categories each year? Because I don't remember historical fiction. Okay, The Lion Woman of Tehran by Marjan Kamali. I have not heard of this one. The Storming Wave by Vanessa Chan. Definitely heard of this one. This was on tons of people's women's prize predictions list, and I don't think it made it. It is a book that I did get out from the library. I started reading, I enjoyed, but because I was focusing so much on the women's prize at the time, I didn't finish it, but is one that I would like to get back to. The Seventh Veil of Salome by Sylvia Marina Garcia. Unfortunately, Sylvia Marina Garcia and I don't love her stuff, so I probably wouldn't pick this one up. The Great Divide by Christina Henrique. Definitely a book that I have seen the cover of, but again, don't know much about it. The Frozen River by Ariel Lahan, I have read and enjoyed way more than I thought I would. Anita Demont Laughs Last by Xochitl Gonzalez. I love this book. Love this book so much. It's probably a book that I will have to buy. I think I need to own it. It is spectacular. I think the way the story is told, I think the characters are done really well. It was a very surprising book, a book that I didn't expect to love as much as I did. The Briar Club by Kate Quinn. Don't know anything about. Behind Every Good Man by Sarah Goodman Confino. Again, a book I don't know about. Husbands and Lovers by Beatrice Williams. Nope. Long Island by Colm. Oh, this is an Irish name. I'm gonna butcher it. I'm not even gonna. But this, I think, is this the sequel to Brooklyn or something like that? Which is a book that I think I have read but don't remember about. Is a book that at some point I would like to reread and then possibly pick this one up as well. James by Percival Everett. Not surprised to see that one on here at all. Very, very popular book. Not one that I'm going to read. I said I would read it potentially if it won the Booker. It did not win, and I have no interest in picking it up. The Bullet Swallower by Elizabeth Gonzalez James. Haven't heard of. There Are Rivers in the Sky by Alif Shafak. I adored this book so freaking much. I was very fortunate to get an advanced reader copy of this one, and I would encourage anybody to go pick this up. It is a beautiful story, and I enjoyed every second of it. The Love Elixir of Augusta Stern by Linda Cohen-Loigman. I haven't even seen that cover before, so no, not one that I've heard of. Shelterwood by Lisa Wingate. Haven't heard of this one. The Phoenix Crown by Kate Quinn. Oh, two Kate Quinns. There we go. The Women by Kristen Hanna. Not at all surprised to see that book on here. That book took the world by storm this year and is a book that I would ultimately like to get to. However, I want to read her Nightingale first. I've never read from Kristen Hanna before, and Nightingale is still the book that intrigues me the most, so would like to get to that. By Any Other Name by Jodi Picoult. Very popular, although I didn't know that she wrote historical. I kind of thought she stuck more to more present day timelines, so that's really interesting. The Paris Novel by Ruth Reichel, and haven't heard of this one. And The Book Lover's Library by Madeline Martin, which, I mean, who doesn't love a good book about books? So that might be one that I look into. When it comes to this category, I mean, There Are Rivers in the Sky is one of my favorite books of the year, I don't think, and Anita Demonte Last Laugh. Those would be the two, like, standouts for me. There are a couple more that I did enjoy, but those two are top of the list for me. Let's go, how do I go backwards? Here we go. Mystery Thriller. Okay, House of Glass by Sarah Pecknin. Nope. Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. I have heard of. Have I read this one? I don't think I have. Society of Lies by Lauren Lang Brown. Heard of, haven't read. The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. Heard of, haven't read. The Last One at the Wedding by Jason Rakalik. Heard of, haven't read. Not What She Seems by Yasmin Ango. I haven't even heard of this one. Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. Heard of, haven't read, probably won't. Geneva Rose isn't my favorite thriller writer, so I think I'll probably pass on this one. Another Frida McFadden, The Teacher. First Lie Wins by Ashley Elson. Read this, did not like it at all, so kind of bummed to see it on the list. All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. Heard of, haven't read. The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins. Heard of, and on the wait list for my library, but it is taking ages to get to me. We Solve Murders by Richard Osman. I finished reading this one last week. I enjoyed it. I think my expectations were high because of how much I enjoyed Thursday Murder Club. You can't go into it thinking it's going to be Thursday Murder Club because it is not. And so by the end of it, I was having a better time with it. However, I do think this entire book was used just to set up a new series. Wasn't my favorite, but I will definitely still continue, or at least try the next book in the series to see where it goes. The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I loved this book. And definitely kind of surprised it's in, I guess, mystery. It's not that, I'd say it leans definitely more mystery than it does thriller for me though. The Night We Lost Him by Laura Dave. I enjoyed this one enough. I think that she's an author that I will continue to read, not run out to get, but will continue to read because I did enjoy her first one. What was it? The Last Thing He Told Me. So she's definitely an author that I'll keep my eye out for. The Mystery Guest by Nita Prose. I haven't read from Nita Prose. Maybe I have read one. See, this is the problem with mystery thrillers sometimes, is they just all muddle together. But I do know what the other cover looks like. It's possible I've read that one. The Return of Ellie Black is a book, again, I had on my TBR. It was coming to me. I had too much stuff that I was reading and I knew it was going to get pushed to the back burner, so I canceled the hold, but would like to get to at some point. How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin. Haven't heard of it. Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. I think this is done in like a multimedia sort of way where there are transcripts and stuff like that, and I don't enjoy books written that way, so it's not one that I would pick up. The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley. I read this one. I don't remember anything about it, which speaks volumes. And Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. I had no interest in reading this, so I've actually seen a couple of people's spoiler vlogs on this video. I think Gabby, Gavin, and Katie did a tandem reading of this in a vlog that I thought was really interesting. And yeah, just is not a book that I need to pick up. I don't think any of them liked it. Okay, let's go romance. I don't think I'm going to have read a single one on this list, but who knows. A Love Song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams. I enjoyed Tia Williams' 7 Days in June, but I haven't read this one yet. Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage. Haven't read. How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwong. Nope. Elsie Silver's Wild Love. Leather and Lark by Bryn Weaver. No. Lies and Weddings by Kevin Kwan. The Pairing by Casey McQuiston was terrible. Like, it was a legitimately awful book, and I don't know why it would be up here except for maybe because of the name that has written it, but I thought the book was awful. Bride by Hallie Hazelwood. Oh, I actually did read this one and enjoyed it more than I thought I would, but sometimes a good vampire werewolf romance is just exactly what the doctor ordered. King of Sloth by Anna Huang. Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Have I read this? I don't know if I've read this Abby Jimenez. I don't think I've read this one, but I have read from Abby before. I liked her part of the world, and the other one, which was the second in that kind of world, I didn't love, so I don't think I picked this one up, but she is a romance author that I would consider reading, it's just not a genre that I generally run towards. The Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood, haven't heard of. This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. I did read, and I read this because there was a reason I read it. Carly Fortune is not for me. She's just a little too sentimental in her writing, and I don't really love that. The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore by Laurie Gilmore is actually a book that I would consider reading just because it looks kind of adorable, and I like the covers. I like the foiling on the covers. I just, again, because it's not a genre I run to, it's one that I use as like palette cleansers kind of, and there's only so many of those I read in a year. Play Along by Liz Tomford. I think that Liz Tomford writes sport romances. Should have known this would be on here. Funny Story by Emily Henry. Have read and did in fact enjoy. The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. I'm not a big fan of the Christina Lauren books, so I haven't read that. Daydream by Hannah Grace. Didn't enjoy Hannah Grace's writing, so haven't read that. Not in Love by Allie Hazelwood. Again, I was surprised I liked Bride by Allie Hazelwood so much because I haven't enjoyed her storytelling in the past, and so Not in Love I think is more in line with her STEM stuff, which is what I just didn't gravitate towards, didn't enjoy. So I don't think this is one that I'll pick up, but can see why it would be on here. This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan, which is a sequel to a really popular one that a lot of people really enjoyed. Again, because of the subject matter, I think it's about a woman who has lost a child. I think they lost a child, the couple, and that just kind of storyline is just not one that I want to read about. And The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. Catherine Center, again, a really popular romance author that I did not mesh with. So what I have discovered this year in my reading, just really casually, is I enjoy fantasy romance way more than I enjoy straight romance. And I am totally okay with that. So romantasy is much more where I will lean towards if I'm looking for that type of book. The Spell Shop so that's where we're going. Romantasy next. The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. I have heard of, have not read. I think it's a cozier book, and I think I would have to be in the mood for cozy. Feybound by Sarah El Arifi is a book that had so much hype coming in, and I tried reading it, and I did not like it at all. A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft. I have heard of, haven't read. Quicksilver by Callie Hart. Look, I finished this book. Halfway through, I thought I was going to DNF it, and then I didn't, and I'm kind of glad I finished it, but also the fact that it's a series, I just don't know if I need to read much more from that world, so we'll see how that goes, but I don't like the cover of it at all. When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker, another book that is wildly popular, I have not read. Zodiac Academy Restless Stars by Caroline Peckham. I haven't read any of those. A Crown This Cold and Heavy by Stasia Stark. Nope. Fate of the Sun King by Nisha J. Tooley. Haven't heard of. The Sun Witch by Sydney J. Shields. I have heard of, but I don't think I've heard many people enjoying it. Which I guess is kind of, I don't know how Goodreads chooses their selections and their nominees, but yeah, interesting. A Fate Inked in Blood is the Same by Daniel L. Jensen. A lot of people talked about it, but not many people really seem to love it. So I don't know. The Game's God's Play by Abigail Owen. I have heard really good things about, actually, but I think it's a mythological retelling, and I don't like reading mythology retellings. A Promise of Peridot by Kate Golden is not one I've heard of. A Touch of Chaos by Scarlett St. Clair, one that I've heard of, have not read. Gold by Raven Kennedy. This series seems to have taken over the world. Haven't read. Phantasma by Kylie Smith. Again, a book I've definitely heard of. Don't know anything about. Probably would maybe consider picking up, but I don't know. Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Maher. I have been told on more than one occasion I should read this book or this series. I might get to it. I don't know when, but it is one that I would consider reading. The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee, don't know anything about. Born of Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, don't know anything about. Blood of Hercules by Jasmine Moss, don't know anything about. And then, okay, House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. Obviously, it's going to be on there. Sarah J. Maas, I imagine, will sweep whatever category she's in. So definitely some mixed bag here in terms of books that I have read or not read or have on my radar or not, but I have heard of a lot of them, which I find interesting because that's not, like I said, my go-to genre, but I definitely seem to read enough of it. Okay, fantasy. I don't know how many, I don't think we're going to do all of the categories, but I'll see what's next. The Academy for Liars by Alexis Henderson, haven't heard of. The Dead Cat Tail Assassins, I've heard of, no desire to read. A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher, again, an author that has written so much, people love. I haven't read anything by them. I think because they write a lot of horror too, don't they? So not one that I've put any effort into trying to get a hold of. Empire of the Damned by Jay Kristoff. I would consider reading this series. I enjoy Jay Kristoff's writing, but I didn't read the first book, and so I would have to start there, obviously. But it is a series that I would consider doing. The Book of Doors by Gareth Brown, I read. It was okay. 5 Broken Blades by May Corrind, I read. Again, it was okay. One Among Crows by Veronica Roth, I DNF'd, didn't like it at all, which was super bummer because I remember really enjoying the Divergent series when it came out, but something about this just did not mesh with me. The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett, haven't heard of. The Sweet Sing of Stalt by Rose Sutherland, haven't heard of. The Bright Sword by Lev Grossman, I have heard of. I don't know anything about it actually, but is one that I would look into what it was about. The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo, I read, I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people didn't, but I had a good time with it. The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden is a book that people loved. I just thought it was okay. Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune. Actually not surprised to see that on here. I haven't read that one yet. I think I have it on hold, but again, it's a book that's really popular at the library, so it's taking a long time to get here. A Song to Drown Rivers I have heard of, but I don't know anything about. The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer, don't know. And Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands by Heather Fawcett. I read the first book in the series and decided not to continue on. The Fox Wife by Yangzi Shu, I have heard of, don't know anything about it. Voyage of the Damned by Frances White, nope. The Night Ends with Fire, I DNF'd. And The Blackbird Oracle. Look, if you know this channel at all, you know that I can't talk about this book. So we move past. But I think science fiction, horror, debut, audio, young adult, nonfiction, whatever. I think that's as far as I'm gonna go. The only other one I would maybe want to look at is debut novel. I do like science fiction, but I won't know enough on there. I'm not even gonna mention all these. Let's just go through. Murder, as I've talked about before, really enjoyed. The Ministry of Time I actually had a good time with as well. We Used to Live Here seems to be a really popular book. Not my genre, but one that a lot of people really enjoy. Glorious Exploits, another one that people loved. I DNF'd. So, nothing on here that's screaming to me that I have to read, which I don't mind because there's already a lot of stuff on my TBR that I need to get to. So let's just do really quickly science fiction. Oh, Moon of the Turning Leaves is on here. If you haven't read that book, I don't know why it's in science fiction. Interesting. Loved it. I love this series so very much. It follows a native tribe in Ontario, Canada, and I just loved it. I thought it was so good. Nope. In Ascension by Barton McInnes, I hated. Again, Orbital by Samantha Harvey, which just won the Booker, just DNF'd. I DNF'd twice. Not even just once, twice. And The Ministry of Time by Kellyanne Bradley, I read and enjoyed. The Other Valley, I DNF'd. So, here's what I'm discovering. Goodreads is good for kind of introducing you to things, but I really struggle with awards just because I don't think my reading tastes align with, I feel like my reading taste doesn't align with a lot of other people. It's a very eclectic group of things that I enjoy reading. I think I read pretty broadly, but I look at these lists and when none of them really grab me, I kind of have to wonder where I'm getting my book recommendations from. So that's what I have to say about that. But let me know what you thought of the Goodreads Choice Awards this year. Did anything grab your interest? Are you going to pick anything up because of them? And if not, what do you wish they would do? Like, what do you think should have been on it instead of what ended up being on the list? I would love to know. Let me know how your day's going. I'm going to finish my tea. I'm going to enjoy the gloomy weather and then get ready for work. Bye.